Dear students and the participants in the course on railway engineering, today we are going to continue our discussion on the track maintenances. In the previous lecture, we discussed about the various categories of the maintenances, what are the various parameters and their permissible values which are being provided by Indian Railways. So, on the basis of which the decisions are taken regarding the type of maintenance to be carried out. And then we also discussed about the various track indices which are considered, so that again the informed decisions are taken with respect to the maintenance. In today's discussion, we will be talking about the annual maintenance schedule, the mechanized track maintenance, the systematic packing, the picking of slacks and through packing. So, let us start our discussion with the annual program of track maintenance or annual schedule of the track maintenance. Now, in this case they are related with the monsoon. So, it can happen the pre-monsoon, post-monsoon and during monsoon. So, here we are talking about the post-monsoon attention schedule. So, for picking of the slacks, it is 1 to 2 days a week. Every week for 1 to 2 days this is being done, and on the remaining days the systematic planned or NBM based maintenance is done from one end of the section to the other end. So, that means again you have to divide the track into sections. It is not that the whole of the track is going to be taken in one go. So, you will start working in a one small section and then you will be working from one direction. So, by the time you reach here, so this track is section is over, and once it is being stabilized, then only you are moving into the next section. Now, what are the things which includes here? It includes through gauging, the sleeper spacing or squaring, the casual renewals of the rails and sleepers, the attention to be given to the bridge approaches, level crossings, points and crossings, SEGs and the glued joints. Lubrication of rail joints also needs to be taken up, the weld collar painting or the de-stressing of track, cold weather patrolling or some other works which needs to be taken up when you are working post monsoon. In the case of pre-monsoon, the 2 to 3 days they are being given for clearing of side and the catch water drains, the earthwork repairs in terms of cess, clearing the waterways and as well as picking up the slacks. That means any change in the alignment which has occurred, and if you remember this we have discussed previously where we even talked about how the things are calculated. For rest of the days in that week, the normal systematic planned or NBM can be taken up. In this case again many of the things remains the same. So, what we will going to do is the through gauging, sleeper spacing or squaring, casual renewal of rails and sleepers, shallow screening of the specified lengths, de-stressing of track, hot weather patrolling, etc. Now, in the photograph which is being shown on the right hand side, you can see the sleepers are there and there is a ballast being filled in between the sleepers, but here in these 2-3 sleepers the ballast is being taken out, and this is what is a shallow screening of the ballast, because it is being taken out only up to the depth of the sleeper, not up to the formation level. If it is going up to the formation level, then that is a deep screening. So, this is a shallow screening being done here. Then attention during the monsoon, picking of slacks or NBM with attention to side and catch water drains and waterways, and during abnormally heavy rains, patrolling of the line by the gangs, and that has to be done along with the regular monsoon patrolling. Now, let us look at the mechanized track maintenance. So, there are 3 things which are being done here. One is OMU, that is on track machine units. Another is MMG, that is mobile maintenance gangs, and the third one is the sectional gang. On the right hand side, one of that machine is being shown, which is a UTM, universal tamping machine. Here these are the tampers, and these tampers are going inside the ballast. So, it will be up and down movement here, and with the help of that up and down movement, because they are being happening very closely, at these two locations. The two of such plungers are going down. So, it tamps the ballast in a much better manner. So, let us talk about OMU, that is the on track machine unit. First of all, if you look on the right hand side, that part is being shown here where the tamping is happening. You can see that these two tamp systems goes inside the ballast and there is a vibration being created here, and because of that vibration then this type of a system will be happening in the ballast section. You can see the vibrations being created and the movement is happening this way, as well as there is some movement which will happen up and down, because as soon as it tilts like this, some of the movement will also be going into the vertical direction. So, this is how that tamping is done, and this one here is being shown is a sleeper. So, it is happening on the two sides of the sleeper or at the bottom of the sleeper. So, this is a tie tamping machine. So, various machines which are used in the OMU are the tie tamping machine, which is used for the plane track and the points and crossings. There is a shoulder ballast cleaning machine which is defined as SBCM. So, whatever the ballast which is there at the shoulder of a track, so the track is being provided with the rails and the sleepers, but then the ballast cover is going up to certain level. So, if we try to see in terms of this side, then what you are going to get an idea is something like this. So, here so you have additional ballast here, then at the top of it there is a rail along with the sleeper. So, that is what we are talking. So, here this shoulder which is being provided, for that shoulder also the cleaning machines are available. Then ballast cleaning machines in general, which is going to clean the ballast which are being provided in the section here. Then ballast regulating machines, dynamic track stabilizers and the utility track vehicles. The maintenances which are taken up are systematic tamping of the plane track as well as the points and crossings. Then intermediate tamping of the plane track as well as the points and crossings. The shoulder ballast cleaning, the ballast profiling and redistribution, track stabilization, periodical deep screening, and the picking up and transportation of material which is extra and which needs to be removed from here. So, here you can see there is a one machine being shown which is a BCM, the ballast cleaning machine. So, it takes the ballast, goes up and then it cleans and will re-put the ballast at the location. The another one is the MMG, which is a mobile maintenance gang. So, in a mobile maintenance gang there were people, they have a jurisdiction on 70 to 80 kilometers in a single line section, or if it is a double line or a multi line section then it is 30 to 50 kilometers. So, that particular area has been given to one gang. Now, machine which is used here, that is RBMV, rail borne maintenance vehicle, and this rail borne maintenance vehicle is used which is equipped with whatever types of machines or accessories which are required for doing the maintenance. They are available on that, and this is used for the movement along that particular section of 30 to 50 kilometers or 70 kilometers depending on whether we are talking about double line, multi line, single line systems. Now, what are the functions of this MMG? They repair the rail and weld fractures including in situ AT welding. When we discussed about the weldings, there were two types of weldings. So, one type of that was AT, aluminothermite welding. Attention to SEJs, the switch expansion joints, scattered replacement of switches and crossings components, glued joints, SEJs, etc., rail cutting, drilling and chamfering. So, here again in this photograph, this is a rail borne maintenance vehicle which will move along with all its accessories and gang, and they will be doing the maintenances along the track which is under their jurisdiction. Further, what are the other works they are doing is the spot renewals of rails and sleepers, the spot attention by tamping of few sleepers with off track tampers. So, they are different type of trampers, means they are being carried by the people, they will put it at a location. So, if it is to be done at this point, the sleeper is being provided. So, the tamping is going to be done on the both the sides. So, that is a separate small instrument which is used for that, or there can be any other approved equipment which is required to be taken along for the maintenance requirements. The loading and unloading of the material which is required for spot attention, and finally the driving of this vehicle. As I said, this particular vehicle is carrying all the equipments or the accessories which are required for maintenance. Then sectional gangs. The various functions of the sectional gangs are systematic through packing of track, overhauling of track, patrolling of track. They are doing the keyman's daily patrol, hot and cold weather patrolling, monsoon patrolling. This hot and cold weather patrolling, if you remember when we were talking about the short welded rails and long welded rails, at that time also we have discussed about it, because the temperature plays a big role there in the maintenance. Then watching the vulnerable locations, need based attention to bridges, turnouts, HEGs, level crossings, greasings of the elastic rail clips, lubrication of the joints, casual changing of the rubber pads or the fittings. So, all of these things they are to be done by these sectional gauges. Along with that, any minor cess repair, means in the ballast section which is provided, the cleaning of drains, attention to loops, creep and gap adjustment. So, they are also looking at if there is a creep which is occurring at any of the location, how to control it, what are the things which are being provided, whether they are working in a right manner or not. If not, then probably we need to change them. The pre and post tamping attention, examination of rails, sleepers and fastenings, including the measurement of the toe load of ERC. Then inspection of and attention to the insulated joints or SEGs, weld collar painting, cess cleaning, cutting of trees, branches, shrubs for improving visibility. Every of these type of things they are going to be done by these sectional gangs. Then coming to the systematic tamping, and this can be done for the plain track as well as for the points and crossings. It is decided based on the results of the track recording car. Now, in the previous lecture we did talk about the track recording car and the various equipments which are to be carried along with, and the type of parameters which are measured by it. On the basis of that, certain indices were computed. So, that can be one way of deciding for the systematic tamping, or it can also be decided on the basis of OMS, that is oscillation monitoring system, which again is going to be placed in the TRC. Now, TRC records the 4 track parameters, acceleration and the ride indices. Again, all of these things we have discussed in detail in the previous lecture. This OMS measures the acceleration in vertical and lateral direction and calculates the ride indices. There is another thing which is defined as OC, that is oscillograph car, and it can be used at a higher speeds of up to 150 kilometers per hour, because this TRC, this can be used up to 110 kilometers per hour, and if it is moving beyond that, then there is a problem with respect to this oscillation monitoring systems. So, when we work with this systematic tamping, the past history of deterioration of tracks that is required, then traffic density is also to be looked at. What is the type of formation which is being provided, what is the condition of the track as well as the components which are being provided on that track. So, all of these things they have to be looked at before any of the tamping machines are placed there. Now, here again on the right hand side, this is one of the output of the TRC. We have already looked at some of the outputs in the previous lecture. Now, there are certain prerequisites when you are going for a systematic tamping. The minimum depth of 150 mm of a clean ballast cushion shall be available below the bottom of the sleepers. There should be adequate ballast available in the shoulders and the cribs. So, if it is required, means it can be utilized or recycled there. Deep screening of ballast and the running out of ballast, they should already being done when you are going for this systematic tamping. So, it means first of all you have to go for these two aspects. The time allowance for work has to be considered in terms of the block time, because the trains are continuously running, and when we say block time means the block is being taken, that means now the train is going to move into that block. So, on the basis of those schedules, the time allowances has to be made with respect to the systematic tamping, needs to be coordinated. The heaping of ballast should be ensured in the tamping zone and wherever it is short. So, it means additional ballast shall be available on site at the side of the track, and if required it can be used in the track when you are going for a deep screening or renewal of the ballast. Low cess should be made up, it means it has to be brought to the level, and ballast should be clean. In this case, pumping joints should also be cleaned. Then hogged joints, tightening of fastenings, they needs to be taken care of. It means first of all they also needs to be improved upon. So, if there is a hogging of a joint, it has to be brought back. So, de-hogging has to be done there. Similarly, tightening of fastenings needs to be seen in terms of whether they are loose or there is extra tightening, they have to be brought to the normal condition. Damaged and broken sleepers, they should be removed, and the spacings has to be done in a perfect manner, and two sleepers means they are placed in such a manner so the spacings are perfect, as well as the squaring of the sleepers means the way they are being oriented, that adjustments everything has to be initially taken care of before you are going for systematic tamping. Adjust the creep, expansion gaps and gauges. Removal of signal rods, cables, pipes, level crossing check rails, joggled fish plates, etc. These things needs to be removed. Subjective, when you go for that tamping, there is always a possibility that because of those tamping machines, these will get damaged. So, if that is the case, then they should be removed first. Now, we talk about tamping depth, that is the gap between the top edge of the tamping blade and the bottom edge of the sleeper in closed position of the tamping tool should be adjusted to 15 mm to 20 mm. The tamping tools shall be inserted centrally between the sleepers into the ballast to avoid the damage. So, there is a one sleeper here, there is another sleeper here. So, in the center of that this tamping tool is going inside. So, there will not be any damage to the sleepers, that is how it is being set. The tamping squeezing pressure is 110 to 120 kg per centimeter square for the plain tracks and 125 to 135 kg per centimeter square for the points and crossings. And the squeezing time is 0.8 seconds to 1.2 seconds. So, these things again has to be adjusted before you are going to use the tamping machine. One insertion is sufficient, one time it is being done, it is fine. So, it goes one time, then moves, then one time, then moves, and so on, it will happen. The two insertions may be used if the lift is above 30 mm. So, if that track is being lifted and it is more than 30 mm, then two insertions can be used so as to stable that ballast. A run-off ramp of 1 in 1000 should be given before closing the day walk. So, that means wherever you are stopping at that point, that ramp is going to be provided. Checking of alignment, levels, tightening of fastenings, breaking of fittings, sleepers, etc. needs to be checked again once the tamping is over, and if anything wrong has happened, then the remedial measure should be taken for that. Then coming to the picking of slacks. The slacks are usually occurring on the stretches of yielding formations, high banks and cuttings, approaches to bridges, to level crossings, to the SEJs wherever the points and crossings are provided or the glued joints are provided. Badly aligned curves, axial counter locations, other electrical and S&T, that is the signal and telecommunication installations, if they are there, those are also the locations where the slacks may occur or where the ballast is in the poor condition, or there is a problem of the drainage at a particular site. In those cases also there is a possibility the slacks will occur. So, here you can see that a person is working with a crowbar and is trying to improve upon the slacks which may be occurring on a track. Then attention shall be given as per the results of TRC, OMS or OC. For spot attention, the multi-purpose tampers or off-track handheld tampers or crowbars are used. I have already shown in the previous photograph the use of a crowbar. Here you can see these are the handheld tampers. So, a person is doing on this side, another is doing on the other side. So, on both of the side of the sleeper, two people are working together. In case of a low joint, the fish plates should be slightly loosened and the joint tapped so that the rail ends are rendered free and can be lifted. That means now if there is a requirement of lifting, the loosenings has to be done. So, that is what we are discussing here. After the joint is thoroughly packed and the fish plates needs to be tightened again, so that everything comes back to the perfect condition. When the joints are picked up, and at least 3 sleepers on either side of the joints should be packed. So, as soon as there is a picking of something is there, adjacent sides also needs to be stabilized simultaneously, and for that the value is with up to 3 sleepers on either side. So, 3 on this side, 3 on the other side. Now, if the affected length of the track is more than 1 kilometer, then the track machine should be used. So, instead of doing this handheld tamping and all those things, we should go for this track tamping machine as being shown in this photograph here. So, it is a machine with the tampers being provided. It will move at a certain speed and do the work. Now, when we are looking at this type of maintenance and the defects which have been observed, then those defects are marked by certain symbols, and that symbol defines that what is happening at that location. Say if it is a symbol C2, so it is related with the cross levels of the tube and it is being written on the sleeper inside the gauge face. If it is H or P, this is loose packing. Again it is on the outside of the gauge face. So, at one side, at the other side. G plus minus, so it is happening in terms of either the slacking or tightening of the gauge. So, this is on the inside gauge face of the sleeper. Unevenness marked by the arrows, and this is on the rail web on the gauge face side. Alignment, this is again marked by the arrows, but one in the vertical direction, other in the horizontal direction, and these are being placed on the foot of the rail inside gauge face. So, there are specified locations where a type of indication will be done, will be mentioned. On the basis of that, we can identify that with respect to what this defect is occurring. Now, through packing, the conventional method, that is what we are going to talk now. So, it is a manual through packing is not done on concrete sleeper tracks. There are various steps which are taken up. They are opening of the road. When we say road here, it means we are talking about basically the rail track section. Then examination of rail sleepers and fastenings, squaring of sleepers, slewing of track to the correct alignment, gauging, packing of sleepers, repacking of the joint sleepers, boxing of ballast section and tidying. So, let us talk about these steps one by one. Here you can see that the manual procedure is going on for the maintenance. They are looking at the slack which has occurred on the track and they try to maintain it by hammering as well as pulling. So, opening of the road, ballast is taken out of a depth of 50 mm below the packing surface and up to 450 mm inside of the rail seat. So, means what? That when you are talking of this 450 mm inside the rail seat, so this is a rail seat. So, we are going 450 mm here. So, if we are talking here that this is a track and this is the sleeper. So, this one is the center line, this is rail seat. From this rail seat we are going inside to a distance of 450 mm. Similarly, from this side also we will be coming 450 mm inside. So, this is what is to be taken out and for a depth of 50 mm below the packing surface. So, whatever is the packing surface is there, from there 50 mm below. Racking of ballast inwards should not form a ridge higher than 50 above the rail levels. Now, what will happen is that now all this material which you have taken out will be put inside. Similarly, all this material which is being taken out will be put inside, so that when you have to refill it, you need not to go to a distance and bring it. So, that type of time saving needs to be done here. So, when you are doing that, what will happen in the case of a plan? So, this material will get heaped in this form in the center. So, here there is, can we say that there is a rail here and as well as the rail here. So, in the center it is happening. So, this is the level of the rail, this is the level of the rail, and this is the level of the heap. Now, this level of the heap is what we are talking here. It should not form a ridge higher than 50 above the rail level. So, it can go bit higher, but that this distance which is going to be there should not be greater than 50 Then examination of rails, sleepers and fastenings is another step. The rails are examined for corrosion on foot or web, cracks at the ends, wear at top and side of the head, then wear at the rail joints, tightening of fish bolts, etc. All of these type of aspects we discussed when we talked about the rail defects, failures and wear. Then lubricate the gauge face. So, if the wear on the curve is unusually high, then this lubrication of the gauge face is done to remove the rust and dust from the corroded rails, remove the kinks in the rails. So, we are not going to details of this, but these are the aspects which needs to be taken care of when you are doing the examination. The sleepers and fastenings, they needs to be checked for their condition as well as for their soundness. Then the third step will be the squaring of sleepers. The spacing of sleepers is to be checked and it is to be corrected, and wherever the correction is required, that is marked with the chalk. The same marking is also done on the rails. So, here you can see again the raking is being done. There is a raking tool which is used. This is nothing but a sort of a jaw which is made of steel. So, that rack is being done in this form. So, if you can do by your hand, it probably you will get hurt. So, that is why this type of a tool is being used. Then out of square sleepers are picked with the pick end of the beaters. So, here there is a pick end of the beaters. So, with the use of these pick ends, they will put below the sleeper and the sleeper is going to be lifted. The fastening loosened, the sleepers are levered and squared to position. So, if any movement has been there, they will bring back to that location whatever orientation is required and will put there. Squaring should be done using the mechanical or the hydraulic spacers or using the crowbars. So, here they are using the crowbars in this case. The slewing of the track to the correct alignment. Heavy slewing is done at a time of track realignment, when whole of the track is going to be realigned. So, at that time the bigger swing is going to be done. If there are minor swing, then those can be done here. Under normal maintenances, the road is opened. When we say road, again the track is opened here. The course at the ends are loosened, sufficient ballast is drawn at the ends of the sleeper. Then gangmate shall check the slewing from a distance of 30 meters to 60 meters on a straight track and on the outer rail on the curves. So, what they will do is they will just stand in the line with the rails and then will try to see that whether there is a problem in terms of that alignment. So, the alignment is going in this direction and they are looking from this side for that particular distance. So, this is going to be visible. Yes, there is something which is happening which comes under the category of the sleeve. It is done in the morning because afterwards if you are doing in the daytime, the sighting becomes difficult. It is done using the hydraulic or the mechanical jacks or trellis. If the crowbar is used, then the angle with which the vertical it is making should not be more than 30 degree, as at a higher angle it will lift the track. So, that means when this crowbar is being placed here and you are lifting it up. So, with respect to the vertical, and this should not be more than 30 degrees. So, this angle is what we are talking, because if you do more than that, then it will lift the system. Then gauging, it is done once the squaring of the sleepers is over. Gauging is done within the specified permissible limits, as you can see in the photograph here. That is the gauging equipment being fixed with respect to the gauge of 1676 on a broad gauge, and then it is going to be run along this one, and wherever the tightening or the slacking is there, you can identify with the help of this. It means still something is being left and you need to do those corrective measures. So, we are checking now the gauge. That track gauge cum level should be held firm with one lug against the base rail and the other end being swiveled over the opposite rails. That is what is how is being shown here. The tightest position obtained determines the correct point to test the gauge. So, on a straight tracks with the curves with the radius greater than or equals to 440 meters, the range is -6 mm to +15 mm, and if the radius is less than 440, it is up to 20 mm, but if you come to straight track, then it is -6 to +6, means it is an even condition on both the sides. Then packing of sleepers, the gangmate shall side the base rail with eye along the lower edge of the head of the rail, and any dip or low joint is lifted correctly. The adjacent sleepers should then be packed and top is checked. After two rail lengths which have been attended, the rail on the other side should be brought to the correct level by checking the cross levels. That means this is one rail length and this is another rail length being connected. Now, once it is being done, now you are checking the other side. That is what it is talking. With a gauge cum level, that means cross levels will be also given, as well as the distance between the two rails is also going to be checked by it. Now, once it is being done, then only we are going to move forward, and here this checking is done at every rail joint as well as for every fourth sleeper. The next two rail lengths should be taken up and the process is going to be continued the same manner. Then the no joint or dip should be lifted higher than the proper level. Packing of all sleepers should be taken up in systematic manner commencing from one side. 4 men should deal with every sleeper. Now, when you are talking about that sleeper, so if this is the sleeper, then 2 men on this side and 2 men on that other side, they will be dealing with this sleeper. The ballast under the sleeper should be packed by the man standing back to back. As you can see here, they are doing by a handheld tamping machine. So, 2 persons has to stand. So, one is standing here on the back to back and working their off track handheld tampers diagonally under the rail seat at the same time to ensure the firm packing. So, angle has been made. So, they are doing it at a diagonal level so that it goes below the sleeper also and the packing is being done. If crowbars are used, then all the men should work the crowbar to the same height to ensure uniform packing. That means there are 4 people, 5 people who are standing along the track with the crowbar, they will work the crowbar up to the same level. So, everybody is doing together and at the same level, same height, then the work will be coming as a uniform form. After packing the rail seat, the packing should be continued outward and inward. When we talk about inward, we have already talked about a distance of 450 mm. The stroke should be kept as nearly horizontal as possible. Before final dressing, the check needs to be made that no sleeper is center bound and the adjoining sleepers are not lifted off their bed. So, this is a check which needs to be done once the work is over. Then repacking of the joint sleepers, the joint and the shoulder sleepers, they should be repacked before boxing is done and the cross levels of the joints are checked. Boxing of ballast section and tiding, the clean ballast should be worked in with the ballast forks or racks. I have already shown that what are these ballast forks or racks. Ham cords 6 mm diameter of sufficient length should be used for lining the top and bottom edges of the ballast section. If the quantity of the ballast is inadequate, then full section of the ballast should be provided near the rail seat. We already discussed in the very starting as prerequisites that there needs to be an additional ballast which has to be brought to the site and being kept because there is a requirement and immediately that needs to be checked and used there, so that the movement of the trains is not hampered. The cess should then be tied up. Then earth ridging, if exist at the edge of the bank, should be removed. Cess should be maintained to the correct depth below the rail level according to the ballast section and formation profile. Too high a cess, it will affect the drainage, and if it is a low, it will affect the ballast spreading as well as wastage. So, with this we are closing our discussion now on the maintenance. We will be continuing our discussion in the next lecture. So, in this lecture we talked about the regular maintenance, the type of attentions which needs to be given with respect to monsoon, and the mechanical maintenance is the packing of ballast, packing of slacks, and the through packing. The rest of the things, as I said, we will be taking up in the next lecture. Till then, thank you and bye.